Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm finally back in the studio, but I do have back with me one of my favorite guests, Vinny Russo. Welcome back and Happy New Year, Vinny.
Dana, thanks for having me back on, and Happy New Year to you too. Hopefully you got a bunch of big things planned. I know we just talked a little bit about your setup, so you're forever expanding, and I love it.
Oh yeah. Devotion is growing and booming and thriving, and after 9 years, I am happy to finally be where we're at. I never gave up on my dream and my passion, and always believed that it had the legs to get there. I just had to hang tight. Survival of the fittest, I think, especially in this industry, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, we're doing well. And we just launched a new Hydroflex. I got to send you these new flavors. You're going to freak out. I know you like the last ones.
I love the water stuff that you sent me. The hydration.
That's the Hydroflex.
That was great. That was great.
We just launched 4 more flavors in the new year. And the first batch was amazing. The second batch, you're going to be like, Dana, are you kidding? I got to send you a bag. You got to do a review on those. You're gonna love.
If it's free, it's from me. So just keep sending them.
No. But I'm telling you, I love, and you did a good review because you did love the flavors. So I know that this one you'll flip out over. These are really good. So what's going on with you? What's going on in your for the new year with you?
A lot of stuff. So I recently, for one, my daughter is going to be born in February. So we're trying to get everything all tidied up. Her room is almost complete. So getting down to the nitty gritty with that. It's my first kid, so
oh my
excited.
God,
excited
that's exciting.
And a little nervous, but excited as well.
Oh yeah, you have no idea what it's about your world's about to shake up. And I'm not even sure. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I have 3. I had twin girls. It's wild. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I get it. You see the social media craziness that people will be becoming a parent, blah, 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 and then you're like, okay, I get it. It's one of those things that you have to be in it, and then you're like, I get it, Because
and it's crazy because I'm so structured throughout my day. Yeah. And my wife's like, listen, that's gonna go out the window. So just be prepared for that.
Yes.
I'm like, no, don't tell me that. I'll figure out a way to keep the structure. She's like, no, you're not. It's not
for a little. Yeah, for a little while. I think until they're in school, because the school brings the structure back. When babies are at home, it's really their schedule, and you're just trying to manipulate your schedule around their crazy schedule. But I found that once my kids were on a schedule with their naps, and then once they were on schedules with their their school, their daycare, whatever you guys are, whatever you guys decide to do as early. But my kids started going to daycare at 18 months because I was like, okay, I need structure back. They need socialization. They need to start playing. So once I knew I'm dropping them from this time to this time, it was all of a sudden it's on. You all of a sudden now you're all right, this is what I got to fit in. This is what I got to get done. And it actually forces you to even do more structure because now you're so, this is when I don't have my kid. So I got to get my stuff done so that when my daughter comes home, I can spend time with her. So I got to get this other stuff out of the way. So it kind of all works itself out. You'll be okay, but it's a little chaotic in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, we talked about that on when I had you on our podcast, and you were talking about how you stayed fit, being a mom and everything. So I'm definitely going to go back and listen to some of your tips and tricks you threw in there. So
because I made it work. I made it. Yes, yeah. It's there, and then if you need to have me back on to kind of help you guys, whatever, navigate some things, because I promise you'll need to troubleshoot. I do it with my friends who are having babies now all the time, and they're like, oh my God, that's so genius, because it really when you're a person like you and I are structured people, and we prioritize our health, our fitness, all these things, our sleep. You do want to come up with ways to still make your life manageable and stay in your lifestyle and enjoy life, and not be where, you're feeling like you're losing yourself in the process of something that should be such a beautiful thing. You're having, your first kid. So that's it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff happening. So I also launched my course. I did a beta test. It's just about finishing up with the select few that we had run through the course. So that's finishing up, and that's going to be launched again, for the full blow later on in this year, probably I would say probably near the summertime is when I want to relaunch it. I have an app coming out. It's called Macro Tasty. So it's
Ooh.
pretty cool. It uses AI, but it takes recipes that are already made. So these recipes actually taste good, right? So it takes those recipes and based off of the macros that you need for the meal, it adjusts all the portion sizes to fit your macros.
That's
A lot of
genius.
bugs were thrown in there. So it took like it was supposed to be launched a couple months ago. We found some bugs. When we fixed those bugs, it messed up how the AI even worked. So we had to go back and revamp everything. So that should be done within the next 2 weeks. So that's getting launched. And then
Oh, you
also
know
my
I'm putting the
business.
devotion recipes in that.
I
That's
went
awesome.
yeah. I went from Team VR, right, which was just me coaching nutrition clients. It started with bodybuilders and then went to Gen Pop. And then it went into Balanced Bodies, which is what I'm wearing today. So Balanced Bodies has been me and my wife. My wife is the physician, so she does the all the blood work, the internal health, and I focus on the nutrition, both optimizing the health and also transforming the physique at the same time. And now we're going into something a little bit different as well. We're still going to keep the one-on-one clients. I'm not going to push to try to get one-on-one clients, but the people that are with me and have stayed with me, well, we're never going to let them go as long as they want to stay. And I will take on select clients for one-on-one coaching, but we're going to go more towards scalability and affordability. So our business is going to be transforming into something called standard practice, and it has myself, my wife, and another partner included. And it's mainly going to be how can we give great guidance and accountability with a lot of autonomy to learn how to do the dieting and focus on the health. And it's not going to be like bringing people to stage or anything like that. It's mainly going to be for the Gen Pop who's just really trying to optimize their blood health markers. And we're not going to do the 100,000 functional tests that you're going to run to get 100 biomarkers. We're not going to do that. We're focusing on the main biomarkers that can move the needle of health, and we're going to optimize those while also transforming your physique along the way. But it's going to be like a year-long program. And it's going to be there's going to be a lot of autonomy in there. Basically, we're going to teach you how to do the dieting, and you're going to use your preferences to build out your plan with a ton of accountability. So it's going to be way more affordable than this one-on-one stuff.
Yeah.
But we want to try to help as many people as possible. For my wife, it's a passion project for her. For the other partner, it's a passion project. For me, it's what I do for a living. So
Right.
it's just how many more people can we help at one time? And that's what we really want to focus on with this new avenue of the business.
Oh, I love that. How many people you like that's I mean, that's why what I do is so fulfilling, because I feel like it's like the amount of people I can help is endless, with what I do. But I do know somebody like you. You're so passionate with what you're teaching people and what your message is, and it does seem limiting if you're only working one-on-one with clients and you can't really scale and hit the masses and really spread the message even bigger and help more and more people. And like you said, at an affordable level, like not everybody is where they can hire a private coach all the time. And so if you're able to help more people accomplish their goals and reach more people, I mean, for people like you and I who really truly do care about helping people and changing lives, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. And the economy now, hopefully it gets better. Yeah. But even with that, like you're trying to pay for a premium price. Like our prices aren't cheap, and they're not going to be cheap because you're working with myself and a physician. Right. So we're not, and I'm not bringing those. I always said, like, I don't do Black Friday deals. I don't devalue my service. It is what it is. If you can't afford it, okay, that's fine. Maybe one day in the future you can, or if we create another avenue, you have a chance to work with me. But the economy is rough, and we understand, and we're not here to break banks. We're here to actually add value to lives. And if that means revamping the business and going a different direction to be able to touch as many people positively as possible, that's what we're going to do.
I think that's amazing. I love that you're doing that. I'm really excited for you. And sounds like you've got a lot going on. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
But hey,
2025.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We'll see when the baby comes and how much time I have. If I'm still, speaking like this, I'll probably hate my life. But
I mean, she'll throw a wrench in things over a little bit in the beginning. You guys will get. I mean, trust me. You're passionate. You're a hard worker. You'll find a way. I mean, and I'm only speaking because I've been there. I get it. Like, I think people thought I was crazy for having my 3 kids and then trying to compete and launch a brand and all the things. But I feel like when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're the type of person that finds a way, like where they're, if you want to make it work, you'll find a way, and you'll be able to have a very fulfilling life. And like, I think it'll be, because you're growing a family. So that's very fulfilling. And so, yeah, you guys, but it'll be a wild 2025. That's for sure. No doubt.
Yeah. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's look, I get scared if I'm bored. Like if I don't have anything going on, then you should be, then it should be like a red flag. Like, okay, wait.
Oh man.
Right.
100%. So it's funny you said that, because like there was a few times this past year where I'm telling my wife, like, we got to do something more. I'm trying to create these things. I had the app idea, start doing this. And she's like, Vin, why don't you just take a step back and realize like you're very efficient and you're doing more than most people. You have more time because you're more efficient. So enjoy that time off.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep working and working and working. Like let things manifest, let things come to fruition, but don't push so much, man. It's like whenever there's a little downtime, I'm like, I feel like I need to do something. Do I got to go read? I feel like I need to read. Should I read? Like, I'm like that. It's like, I have to.
Oh, you and I are cut out of that same mold. Yeah. Yep. You and I, as you're talking, I'm like, is he in my brain? Like, that's how I am. But you know what? I'm very fortunate that I have a very successful mother who's my mentor. And she's a very successful entrepreneur, and she juggled it all. I mean, with my brother and I, and starting a business, and she's a food scientist, and she could do construction, and she could do architecture, and she could do a million things, and she never sat the hell down. She was always working. She was always, on to the next project, on to the next thing. And she's given me like really great advice now that I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a mother, and and she does say to me, like, Dana, slow down, enjoy your time, you don't have to work every minute, because, she looks back on her life and she's like, geez, like, I was so worried about filling every single second with doing and doing and doing. And yes, she created this incredible empire, but she's 72 and she looks back and she's like, I probably could have rested a little bit more and maybe spent a little more time, with my husband or my kids or my whatever, and it's like you reflect. And I think the beautiful thing is that I'm able to learn from her. And now I don't feel guilty when I do just sit on the couch and just chill out for like an afternoon. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do this. And it's okay. Sometimes I just need to sit and shoot the shit with my kids and just have fun and sit out by the pool. I don't always have to be grinding. So I think you'll find that. I think with your daughter on the way and finally and arriving, and then you're going to be, I think you'll learn. Because right now, like when you don't have kids, you've got the freedom to kind of do what you want to do. But I think you're going to want to then carve out that time and not always fill every second with work. You'll say like, I'm going to spend the afternoon just going to the playground with my daughter. And what I mean? Like that'll be great. So, so speaking of 2000,
I'm ready. I'm up for a challenge. So I always play up to a challenge. Let's go.
Yeah. No, you're going to thrive. Are you kidding me? Like you already have the foundation. Like it's not that. I think for people who are already structured, efficient, know what they want, it's like you're going to cruise into it and you're going to adjust and pivot. And I think that's awesome. A lot of times when people take on too much and they can't even juggle what they have on their plate, it's like, what do I get upset with people in my life. I won't name any people, but it's like they already have so much. They're overwhelmed. They're in over their head. They've got the kids. They've got this. They're trying to get their business, and then they want to take on more. And I'm like, or they're like, I think I'll get a dog. And I'm like, well, how about you just handle the shit that you have? And then, it's like, I can't hear about how you're so overwhelmed. And then you have another idea to do something else crazy. And it's like, oh my God, but you're confident you're already efficient. So it's like, cool. Like you'll put something else on your plate, but you'll finesse, your schedule and your life to still get it all done. So
we're gonna find out.
I can't wait. We're gonna have a follow up. We'll do a follow up on that. Like I'm gonna give you like 3 months and then I'm gonna be like, okay, Vinny, let's go. Like where are you at?
There's gonna be a ton more grays in the beard and in the hair.
Oh, for sure.
Watch that. Yeah.
For sure, and maybe a little bit of bags under the eyes because the tiredness, I'm not gonna lie, is brutal, especially with the first 3-4 months. Yeah. So okay, 2024 is behind us. We've got a lot of really good 2025 ahead, but I wanted to talk about some things that you'd like to leave in 2024 as far as fitness myths. I follow your content all the time, and I love it that you're always, you're in the trenches, trying to enlighten people on the bullshit, basically, what's bullshit, what's not, what to focus on, what not to. And I think it's a very difficult job for coaches like you and people like you, because you're battling up against a lot of these huge platforms that are built on fear mongering. They're built on myths. They're built on the crazy accusations of this ingredient, that ingredient, don't do this, don't do that. So people follow and they're like, oh my God, this person has 500,000. They must know what they're talking about. And yet then people like you and I will be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this is circulating. Like, I can't believe this is going viral.
Yeah.
So I asked you, like, will you put together some things that you'd like to see just left in 2024, like these myths, and like, can we move on in 2025 and stop believing them? So if you want to go down your list one by one, I thought it was a great list, and I'd love to dive into it.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll say that honestly, like, people like us kind of feed into their algorithm, because you get like, they have like the sexy headlines, right? So it's going to get the clicks, it's going to get the views. But then you have people like us that'll go on there and make a comment saying how it's wrong. But that's just feeding your algorithm. So we actually play a role in this.
Or we share it with each other, and we're like, look at this crap.
We play a role in that.
Yeah, and we share it with each other, because I'll be like, are you kidding me with this? And I'll share it with my friend, and I'm like, this is, and then it's like, great, that just helped it. But yeah. It's a trap. It's a trap, Vinny.
Well, one recently that, you were like, yo, like, this resonates with me so much is the oatmeal being bad for you. Like,
yeah.
I mean, so listen, I don't hate anybody, but I really, really dislike this one person who calls himself a biohacker, Dave Asprey. He said, put butter in your coffee. Like, that's what got him, like, his claim to fame and stuff.
Yep.
He calls himself a biohacker, which he's self-proclaimed, and there's no such thing as a biohacker. But anyway, I digress. He says that oatmeal is like peasant food. And to me, I feel like that's like the furthest thing from the truth with oatmeal, because it's been extensively studied, right? And from those studies, the results are pretty overwhelming with how positive oatmeal actually is, because it's been shown to lower things like LDL cholesterol. It's been shown to improve blood sugar control. It's been shown to support gut health. So like for example, there's a fiber in it called beta glucan, right? And this fiber actually helps you feel satiated, which is great for portion control and appetite control. And it also slows the release of sugar into your bloodstream. And how that could be labeled as peasant food is beyond me. Now, to be honest, like, just like with any other food, oatmeal works best as part of a very balanced, nutrient dense diet. Yeah. So if you pair it with protein, like I love with oats, put a little bit of protein powder in it, crushing up some walnuts, maybe throwing some Greek yogurt over top and eating that. And that's a pretty damn well-balanced meal right there.
Agreed.
But like to look at oatmeal and just say, hey, like, this is horse feed, and this is what they gave to the peasants because they were poor. It's like, where are you even going with this? Because now you're looking at something that is healthy, and you're making people have like a negative light on it. You're making them see it in a negative light when it shouldn't, because people have a hard time understanding what to eat and what not to eat. And now they're like, oh my God, like, I thought this was healthy and now it's not healthy. Like, if you're going to choose oatmeal and you're going to go with like the Quaker oats that have the extra added sugar in there with the flavors, they taste amazing. Yeah. And if you could fit it into your daily calories, great. If you want to just control the amount of sugar you have per day, then maybe you opt out for just regular rolled oats or quick cooking oats or steel cut oats instead. So what I want to get across is that oatmeal is not bad for you. It's one of the most nutrient dense breakfast options that is out there today. And I know that resonates with you because of something that just happened with your daughter, correct?
Oh yeah. She got home from camp and she had lost some weight. We were all excited and we were posting about the different things that she was making to eat before school and some snack ideas and things like that. And overnight oats were something that she was making because our mornings are really busy and we don't have time to start making. So we showed overnight oats, and there were comments on there saying, don't eat oats. They're for farm animals, or it's for farm animals. And I'm like, farm animals? Like, I mean, I've been feeding myself and my family oats forever. I put oats in so many. I mean, I eat oatmeal during competing.
Everything.
The leanest of my life, I was eating oatmeal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I bake with oatmeal. I love oatmeal. And, it started getting really nasty where the people were going back and forth, and they're sending me the guy that you were just saying, Dave Asbury or whatever the hell his name is.
Asbury, yeah.
Yeah, sending me clips of him and preaching, and I'm like, and that's where the whole thing where I'm like, you're listening and believing this guy, yet I'm over here telling you I've been eating oats for years and years and years. I'm from the bodybuilding world where that was like a staple in many people's diet. Like, they're lean, they're healthy, they're fine. I mean, not just bodybuilding, but you know what I mean? Just mainstream, whatever. And you're going to fight me on this? Like, that oats are not good and that I'm hurting my child by giving her oatmeal? Like, I couldn't believe the battle that somehow I landed myself in by showing we were making overnight oats with some protein and some chia seeds and some milk. I'm like, oh my God, and some Greek yogurt. I'm like, really? You have a problem with this? Like, it was wild. Yeah. It just spiraled and it was ridiculous. But I did go viral. I did get like I think we're up to like 7 million views. So, hey, we're winning.
That's great. They helped out your algorithm.
Right? But yeah, that was awesome. That was upsetting to me because to fearmonger such a great food like oatmeal, I just was absolutely flabbergasted. Like, I just couldn't believe this was happening.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, he's known for doing that, and it gets him followers. Like, a lot of the stuff out there today is like there are a ton of conspiracy theorists. There's a lot of stuff going on with like the Food Administration now, and then like with RFK coming in and vaccines and all this. That it's almost like people feed into that because they want to have some type of they want to have something to basically be like, oh, I knew it, right? Like, I knew they were trying to hurt us on purpose or something stupid like that. Like, there's so much of that going around. And look, I like a conspiracy just like everybody else does. I think it's very entertaining. I just don't buy into it. It's like, all right, I'll entertain it because I want to hear what this is about. And like, why not get a different perspective on stuff? But I'm not going to go dive in and be like, all right, well, yeah, if you eat spinach, it's going to pull nutrients from your bones. Like, no,
right.
I'm not believing that. Like, show me the science, show me the evidence-based research in humans that show that.
Exactly. And to start demonizing things like oatmeal and spinach and things where it's like already America is struggling so hard with obesity and diabetes and, type 2, and we've got heart disease and all these things. And I'm like, you're nitpicking these foods and then you're confusing it for people even more, people who are already struggling. It's like, what is their point? Where are they going with this? And I understand if you want to come down hard on things like alcohol, or there are real things that have proof that like, yeah, excess alcohol consumption is going, is a problem. And but I've never heard excess oatmeal consumption is a problem. Like, yeah, if you're eating it in a surplus and you're gaining weight, I guess so. But I mean, oatmeal, the way that we eat it, where it's a half a cup of oatmeal in the morning. I mean, stop making. I just wish they'd stop making issues out of things, especially somebody like me, where I'm like, I've been eating oatmeal for the better part of 25 years. Like, I probably even younger. Like, I know my mom was feeding me oatmeal as a kid. I'm fine. Like, why is this become now you're telling me I should have all these problems that I don't have?
It sells. Right? He'll write a book and have that in there, and they want to read about it. It's like if I came out here and I was like, there's so much research right now that with smoking cigarettes, it burns 3 times as much body fat as you do in cardio. Like, it would hit off and it would go nuts and crazy. Oh my God, did you see this? And like, if I found some research that might support that, it'll be a new thing. And I think that's just what, people want nowadays. Not that I'm out there trying to discourage the intelligence of people out there, but it is entertaining and it's what sells. And that's why like crazy headlines are big. Like Jerry Springer. I've watched this Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, I saw it, right, but they had the guy who wrote for like pop culture and wrote all the headlines, the crazy
Yep.
headlines, actually direct the show because he came up with the craziest stuff, which got the most attention.
Yep.
So these outlandish ideas are just grabbing attention, and what people do is they want to think that that's going to be their health fix, and they are literally stepping over dollar. They're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, right?
Hmm.
There's like they're like, all right, so instead of starting a diet, what supplement's going to help me first? No, why don't we take a step back and let's look at the bigger picture here and focus on, well, what does your diet look like before we even think about the supplements? The supplements could definitely help,
Yeah.
but fix what you need to first, right?
It's the quick fix. It's a quick answer. Like, look, years ago, before it all clicked for me and before I knew better, I fell for all those things. 3 things you shouldn't eat if you wanted to lose belly fat. And I'd be like, oh, 3 things I shouldn't eat. You know, and it's like, I'd fall into that same trap because you're dying to know, what is it? What is it? But it's like, I mean, now I scroll, I'm like, oh, please give me a break. What are you going to say? Like, now
Yeah.
I know better, but years ago when I felt desperate and I was trying to find my way and have things click, and they prey on people that are looking for quick fixes, quick answers. The reason to say, this is why I cut out white bread. As soon as I cut out white bread, I lost all this belly fat. And it's like, okay, that's what you thought really did it? Like, no, but of course there are plenty of people. I mean, on a daily, I get text messages from even family members. I have a neighbor who's always telling me, I lost a lot of weight cutting out white rice, everything white. I just cut it white out of my diet. And I'm like, okay, that's not why you lost weight, but okay. Like, if that's what worked for you, I get, like I'm always saying, like, you do know that had nothing to do with why you lost weight, but people are
Well, you can only educate people as much as they want to learn.
right.
So if you could, like, they were like, oh, well, it was the white bread. Okay, well, it was actually the calories that you pulled out.
Exactly.
If you want to believe it, so they don't want to hear that. So
No.
it's okay. Like, but over time, so that's why I said, like, I don't want to discourage like the intelligence of the population here. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm saying is that there's a lack of awareness. There is a lack of education when it comes to nutrition. There is.
Yeah.
So if they hear something, there's a study, even though they don't know how to really read the research, if there's a study that might support it, well, then all of a sudden I have to believe it because
Right.
there's a study that this person said supports this idea, even though it's outlandish. And it might be, like you said, a quick fix. Like the quicker they could hear that they could get results, the more buy-in they're going to have.
Yep. Oh, that's the truth. Quick fix. That's what people look for. Okay, what's another myth? Lay it on
That
me.
leads right into another myth that I want to throw out.
Please.
Where it's like the calories in versus calories out doesn't work. And that to me is it's pretty asinine because it's the foundation of weight loss. If you're eating more calories than you burn, you're gonna gain weight. There's no if and buts about it, right? Now, if you have a condition, right, it still works for you because the only issue is with that condition. Let's just take like a thyroid condition, for example. If you are eating at maintenance, right, you're supposed to stay. You're supposed to stay the same weight, stay the same body fat percentage. If you have a condition to where maybe your thyroid is a little bit slower, then what happens is that your maintenance is actually lower than what you think it is, but it would still be your maintenance. So you might have to go into what you think is a deficit, but you're actually only at maintenance because your thyroid has brought that down. So if you use stuff like calorie calculators or anything like that, it might throw you off, right?
Yep.
So having this idea that like calories in versus calories out doesn't work, it's BS because every single diet study that shows calories in versus calories out shows that if you are in a deficit, it will work, right?
Yes.
There's every single diet study out there. And people will bring up hormones and what about insulin and like the cortisol, does that play a role in metabolism? And don't they break the laws of thermodynamics? And it's like, no, they don't break the laws of thermodynamics. What they do is they shift them. They shift them in one direction or the other because of that, right? So if you are struggling with something like weight loss, it's like you can't say like, I don't need to track because calories in versus calories out doesn't matter. No, you need to track. You need to know where you are. It's like putting in a GPS, the best directions to get from point A to point B without knowing where you are in point A. How are you supposed to know where you're going if you don't track anything, right? You have to know the calories in that you're consuming in order to know how to go lower in calories if you want to lose body fat or if you want to lose weight. And a lot of times too, people say, well, I gave it a chance. I tried it out and it didn't work for me. That's the biggest bullshit in the world. It didn't work for you because you didn't do it correctly.
Yeah.
And if you had someone guiding you, they didn't guide you correctly. And that doesn't mean that you should give up on it. That doesn't mean that you're a failure either. That doesn't mean that you're stupid either. What it means is that you have to have a different approach and you got to try it again, but try it out the right way. And if you don't know the right way, you need to hire someone to show you how to do it and take care of you. So with my clients, I'm like, don't think about calories. I'll take care of everything on the back end. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing with everything. I'll tell you the numbers. I'll tell you what I'm taking out. I'll tell you what I'm putting in. And you just don't worry about it. Just follow what I do. And like, there's enough trust in me to where people do it. But I build all my results off of calories in versus calories out. When I go into a photo shoot prep, when I used to step on stage, everything was the end result was calories, right? It's calories is the main thing. Then it's like, make sure you're always hitting your protein. And then carbs and fats, depending on your preference. And if it is for physical performance or not, they could be interchangeable. And so when I hear that stuff about, oh, you don't need to track, and it's like, oh, well, just eat these 3 meals and they're like really low on calories. It's like, you don't have to track because you're in a crazy deficit right now, but that's still technically calories in versus calories out because you're in a crazy deficit. So yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh, did I just lose sound? Vinny, talk again, maybe.
Hold on. No, there.
There you go. Okay. You were talking and then all of a sudden you're only your lips and I was like, I lost him. Okay. So, and then just to finish up on that, the hormone thing, because I've heard it a billion times. I even hear it from my friends. Like right now, like I'm still in pretty good shape, and my girlfriend.
You're in phenomenal shape. What are you talking about?
Okay, well, I don't want to like toot my own horn, whatever. And so, but my girlfriends will be like, they'll be like, oh well, you know, it was just that like once I started perimenopause or once I started menopause or whatever, and they're like, you know, everything, my hormones got messed up and I've just like put on all this weight and it's impossible. I find it impossible now that we're like mid 40s and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, because I got my blood work done and my hormones are shit. I mean, I'm almost 45 and, you know, I'm not on hormone replacement, so I haven't helped my hormones. Yet as soon as I go into, I just lost 10 pounds. Like my stomach, I still have abs. I'm sitting here, whatever. I don't take anything. I'm never done, you know, whatever. And I'm thinking like, so I'm not using that excuse yet. Some of the other women who I know love to be like, I can't get it off of here anymore. Oh, as soon as I hit my 40s, forget it. I can't do it. Like nothing budges anymore. And I'm just like, and I don't want to be that jerk, but I'm kind of like, okay, real, because like I'm looking great. And like I'm the same age as you guys. And so why is it working for me? I mean, I track, I know what's up. I'm the same lifestyle I've always done. So why, you know, do you think that's just a cop out, or is it real? Is it real for them? Why are they still holding on to their body fat and I'm not?
It's a cop out, and their experience is real, right? What they feel going through menopause.
Yes.
That's 100% real.
Yes.
But there was a study, and I don't know the name of the study. I will have to get back to you on that. Maybe you could put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But there was a study that went about 9 years that looked at people going through menopause. And what they found is that there was over 9 years, 3.5 pounds on average was gained over 9 years, people in menopause, which is absolutely nothing.
Right.
And the amount of muscle tissue lost, about 0.5 of a pound,
oh, wow.
half a pound over 9 years. So what you see when people, or women in particular, well, obviously, when they start feeling like they're gaining weight in their midsection, that is because of the changes in their hormones causing the fat deposition to change, not that they're storing more body fat. Because I mean, that study, I can't think of the name right now. It starts with an S, can't think of it, but I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It literally showed over 9 years, 3.5 pounds. And these are people that didn't work out, right? This is Gen Pop. So people that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you do work out, that's going to be lower, right? It's going to mitigate how much fat gain you're going to have, and it's going to mitigate how much muscle loss you're going to have. So that is a pretty big cop out in terms of, well, I'm gaining fat because of menopause. When it's like, no, you're not. It is though, like it is in terms of the fat deposition and where it's storing on your body. That is changing, but not how much you're storing. But what you feel might be contributing to some fat gain. For example, lack of sleep because of hot flashes. If your sleep quality is ruined, that might lead to maybe binge eating at night, or not, working out as hard, or not having the good performance that you might usually have. Having those cravings, it's going to make it harder to stick to a diet or to a deficit.
Or maybe energy
so that
levels.
All experience is 100% real.
Like energy levels maybe are affected. So if you don't have as much energy, you're more sedentary. And then if you're more sedentary,
100%.
right? So you're not burning, neat. You're not burning as much. That's what happened with my own mother. I've had her on the podcast. She's 72, but she she's like, I didn't have any problem with menopause. She was like a lean, mean. She looked amazing. My mom into her 60s had this, she's awesome. And I was like, well, then when did you gain? And she's like, well, when I started traveling and eating wine and cheese. And, so it wasn't her, she didn't blame it on her hormones. She blamed it on her lifestyle. Like when you stop mowing your own lawn and you stop doing all the chores. Yeah. If you're more sedentary, well, there you go, Ma. Like this is when you change, not because we spoke about menopause for her and she was like, I didn't see a difference. I'm like, yeah, because you were still active as hell and eating great and keeping up your stuff. So,
yeah, well, that's like I just put out a post today of a podcast I had with Dr. Alan Bacon. I had him on our podcast and we got into a little discussion about this. And the clip that I posted today literally says, like, with me talking, it's like, stop blaming your age on metabolism
exactly
slowing down.
Yep.
Like, stop blaming that, because that's not true until you're about 60 years old. Mm-hmm. And Alan, he brings out the research and he's just like, off the top of his head, he knows all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, at 60 years old, this is when it happens. And then it's 0.7%. It slows down every year after that. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. But
yeah,
I do know that at 60 is when you could be like, okay, now my metabolism's playing a role in me not being able to lose weight. If you're not 60, you can't use that as an excuse. And the research supports that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, then take a look at your lifestyle and all the things in it. So, all right. What's another myth?
Another one would be not being able to eat late at night. Listen, this is an old myth, but it's still present today.
Yep.
I took on 3 new clients in the last month, and a lot of them were contributing their lack of progress to, well, I just have like a very, very late dinner. And I'm like, you can have a late dinner. There's no arbitrary cutoff for when you can eat, right? You got to think about 24 hours in a day, over 7 days of the week, and how much you're feeding yourself in those 24 hours.
Yep.
Weight gain is going to happen with a caloric surplus, meaning that you're going to be eating more calories than you burn. So if you're eating less calories than you burn, whether you finish at 7 p.m., 10 p.m., or at midnight, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be in a deficit. So it's not because of the time that you're eating, it's the fact that you're probably not really paying attention to what you're eating, the quality of it, and how many calories you're taking in, right? So the body isn't just like something that just switches into fat storage mode when the sun goes down, right?
Right.
It's metabolizing food 24/7. But the thing is like, if you realize that you are eating late at night, well, okay, so how much did you eat during the day? And then what are you adding on top of that? Yeah. And then if what you're adding on top of that, are you snacking and just like mindlessly snacking, like while you're watching something like Netflix, where you're just like chips or a handful of nuts, which nutrient dense, very good snack, but those calories add up, calorically dense. So if you might be thinking like, oh, I'm making a mindful decision eating walnuts, but if you're eating the whole bag, like you're going way over your calories, right? So instead of really stressing about like the clock and some arbitrary time that you have to eat before, you want to focus on the bigger picture, right? Are you eating within your calorie goals, and are you making nutrient dense decisions? And that's what really matters here.
I'm going to tell you a strategy that I used, and I still stayed super lean and hit my goals and stayed in my macros. I used to always make sure at nighttime, when my life during the day is busy, shuttling the kids around, doing my work, blah, 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 all the stuff, the house stuff. And then at night is when I become snacky, is when I become, I settle down, and then that's when I really want to eat. During the day, I have no problem. I have my meals, I have everything prepped already. And then, so what I would do is I would put some macros, and I knew I wanted some carbs at night. So with devotion, I make this like thing called a fluff or a pudding or whatever. And I know, and I would do this at 10 o'clock at night. I put the kids to bed, and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. But like, I just want to eat right now. And this is when my cravings come in, and this is when I want chocolate. And so I would do 2 cups of cereal. I knew I could have some almonds. I knew I could have my protein, all my stuff. And I just sit there with like a big bowl and eat it. And I show it on my Instagram all the time. So any of my followers, they know I'm being for real. I show it, and it'll be 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, this is when I want to eat this, because this is when my snacky kicks in. And this is when my cravings kick in. And yet I would eat that, still hit my macros, stay in my calories, wake up the next day, boom, I look good, I feel great. And it didn't matter what the hell time I ate, and I still stayed. And so that's why when people are like, oh my God, you eat so late at night, I'm like, I strategize it that way because that's when I fall into trouble. Now I fall into trouble if I finish all my macros and it's 6:00. I'm like, oh boy, we got a long night ahead of us.
That's trouble sleeping and everything because you go to bed hungry, you're hungry and you're starving and your stomach's growling, and that's why I eat right before bed because I get a better sleep when I actually eat right before bed. Now, is that like counterintuitive to what you want to do right before bed? Can that affect sleep? It might affect some people because they can't go to sleep too full, right? If they feel too full, they might get less quality sleep. Me, if I go to bed hungry, my quality of sleep suffers. If I wake up in the middle of the night because I'm hungry, my quality of sleep suffers. So for me personally, my preference is to eat literally like an hour right before bed, and and that's what I focus on. But I want to touch on something that you use. So basically what you did is you took calories out of your day and you banked them for later, so you can have something later in the day. But what that does is it keeps you still within your calorie range that you're supposed to be having. You're not going overboard. You're just taking a few calories out of each meal and then you're banking them for later so you can have that snack later at night. Now, the only thing that I will say about eating late at night, what it might do is like, it might make your scale weight a little bit heavier because your body hasn't had the time to process, assimilate, and go through all the food. So for example, if you are someone who normally doesn't eat after 8 p.m. and you weigh yourself in the morning, every morning at 6 a.m., right? And you're very consistent with that. If you happen to eat at 10 p.m., but you still weigh yourself at 6 a.m., you might be a little bit heavier on the scale because your body hasn't gone through all that food. It's lacking those 2 hours of being able to digest it and go through that food. So does that mean you gained body fat? No, it just means you have like more sustenance in your body, right, for lack of a better term.
That's great. That's a great point for those who are obsessed with the scale. Like I always knew better because I was like, you know what? I mean, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. The scale, of course, is screws my mind sometimes too. But though I would think, okay, I hit my calories, I hit my macros, so it can't be fat. Like just because I'm up 2 pounds or, and then I run through the things like, did I eat late? Did I what? But yes, what I do with that final meal is I strategize. I know myself. I know when my weaknesses are. And so then when I banked that, I guess when you do like macros, like it's kind of like a macro cap where it's like, I'm going to finish up my macros. I'd make like that nice little meal bit there so that I knew I'd end my day where I had to, because I have run into where I run out of macros or something, and then I'm like, oh shoot, now I got to go all night without food, or I don't get my bedtime thing. So it's getting to know yourself where you fall into trouble, because if I'm hungry at night, I'll end up in the pantry doing some stupid things that I'll regret because I didn't save a nice meal for the end of the day to satisfy me, to make me feel like, yes, I finished up. Or something like you said, if you're watching Netflix, like I want to sit there, I want to eat something. Like I like that. Yeah. I like to, have my snack and feel like, but I always feel satisfied because I save it and it doesn't ruin my plan. It doesn't sabotage my efforts that I put all day. That's the thing. Some people will do great all day and then they sabotage themselves at night. And it's like, great, you ate your 1,600 calories, all day long, and then you ate another 1,000 before bed. And it's like, well, no wonder why you're not losing. Like you're sitting there eating nuts and, like you said, handfuls of nuts and Ben and Jerry's, and okay, well, there you go.
Listen, Ben and Jerry's got some good shit, man.
Yeah, but you can't get, not all of us can get away with a pint of Ben and Jerry's at night. And I have friends, even guys, who are like, oh, I'm trying to lose my belly, Dana. And then I'm like, well, what? And they're like, no, I'm good all day. But then at home, like my wife buys a pint of ice cream and I'm just in. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's going to add up every night.
I love that. Put the blame on everybody else but yourself. Right. My wife buys it. Well, then don't fucking eat it, idiot. Like, come on.
Oh, no, I hear all kinds of stuff.
Can I curse?
Yeah. It's fine. This is a podcast.
You can bleep it out.
No, it's fine. No. But I like that.
But yeah, that leads into another one where it's like because we're talking about like arbitrary cutoffs, is like intermittent fasting. And this was huge this last year. It was so big that me and this one guy like went back and forth. I made a bunch of videos about them and I got away from that because it seemed to be pretty negative and I felt like icky, like putting that stuff out. And I went to more of a positive route. But
Okay.
when I was in it, I was deep in it and I was going after him with all this stuff. But intermittent fasting is not some miracle diet,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting is a tool. It's a tool to help you stay into your calorie deficit if you're trying to lose weight. And it's a pretty damn good tool too if it fits your lifestyle. So if you are someone who does not like to eat in the morning, you just want to grab a coffee, go to work, and you're fine with starting your day off with lunch, then intermittent fasting might be the best route for you. For me personally, I wake up and I'm very hungry. One of my favorite things to do is to eat breakfast. It's my favorite meal of the day. I love the foods for breakfast, and I look forward to it every single morning. So I'm not going to do intermittent fasting. That's not going to be for me. And have I ever done intermittent fasting? No. Um, is my blood markers on point? Yes. Have I brought myself to stage? Yes. So I never did intermittent fasting, but I can still do all this stuff. It's not a miracle diet. What intermittent fasting does is it's a tool to help you stay in a deficit because it keeps you in a window that you can eat. When you're in a window that you can eat, and it's usually 8 hours, is 16:8 is probably the most used intermittent fasting window. So 8 hours to eat. If you're eating 3 to 4 meals, that's every 2 hours that you're eating. You're going to feel full throughout that entire window. You're not having this long lag time of not eating. It's almost going to be like, wow, I can't believe I'm in a deficit eating this much in this window. Then it's like, all right, well, your cutoff might be 8 p.m. You can't eat after that. That's your window. And what happens over time is like your body gets used to it. Your body knows, all right, well, I'm not going to eat until here. You'll start getting hungry around that time and you're going to finish around a certain time. So basically what it does is it helps you stay in your deficit when it goes off of your lifestyle, right? Now, studies show basically comparing just a regular calorie deficit to intermittent fasting. And when calories and protein are equated for, when both of those things are equated for, meaning they're equal with each other, there's no benefit to intermittent fasting. There's no added autophagy that they talk about. There's no added like improvement in gut health. There's no added weight loss or body composition changes. So for me, I'm just like, I would never do it just because I like to eat in the morning, right? But here's the thing too. If you have a feeding window and it's 8 hours, if you eat more than your maintenance in those 8 hours, you will gain body fat, whether you're intermittent fasting or not. So intermittent fasting is not some miracle diet. It is a very effective tool for people that needs help staying in a deficit because they feel too hungry, and for those who don't like to eat early in the morning.
Yeah, amen. I mean, I'm glad you put that one to bed, your rest or whatever. Hopefully in the coffin, because I do also have friends who swear by that. Like that's been their thing, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but just so you know, there was no magic to it. You're just in a calorie deficit, and I have tried a lot of things because I've always, I like to talk about, like I tried keto, I tried this, and not for long periods, but I did them enough that I can speak on them. And I tried intermittent fasting, and what it did was it set me up for a big hunger spike, like where finally when it was time to eat, I was so hungry for the rest of the day, and I didn't feel that. I felt like for me, the more that I space out eating and I feel satisfied, the less that I want to like binge out because I'm not like so hungry. Like if I'm so hungry, I'm not thinking clearly, and then my choices are not going to be like, I'd be like, screw it. Yeah, let's go. We'll go out for burgers. I don't even care. Like, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And if that's not aligning with my goals or whatever, it's like, I'm not thinking right if I'm too hungry. And so that also was not for me because I just realized like all I was worried about all morning was what time it is and can I eat yet? So
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And what about the people that work out in the morning? Like peri-workout nutrition, whether like eat before and after. Like, yes, it is important if you want to see improvements with working out. Like you're working out to see progress. You're not working out just to go and like check a box, or at least you shouldn't be. Right. Your goal should be to actually get better and better every time you go to work out and getting stronger and maintaining or at least building some more muscle tissue for longevity purposes, if not anything else, right? So if you're not fueling yourself, you're not starting the recovery process as quickly as you could, which means you're delaying the recovery, which means your performance might be slacking when you go to work out again. So my thing is like, if you work out in the morning, you don't have to eat before you go, but you definitely want to eat after. And if you do eat before, you don't have to rush home to have like a meal in 60 minutes. It's like eat your next meal when it comes
Yeah,
around.
in that
You
window.
have enough fuel from that first meal, so you'll be all right. Trust me.
Yeah.
You're not Chris Bumstead, right?
Exactly. Oh man, there's so many myths. That was another one. There's a window that you have to eat after you work
Yeah.
out. Like, oh God, like so many rules I used to think I had to live by to get it all right. And it's like, no, but that was like, what the stuff that everybody used to believe. But now it's like such a hard job trying, like now deprogramming people's brains for all the stuff that was thrown at us for so long, the fasted cardio, the like all the things you thought you had to do. And like, and then I remember some people with drinking water. It's like, well, how many ounces do I need? And then say somebody said, okay, you need 100 ounces a day. They'd be like, well, what about, does the water in my coffee count? Well, what if I have iced tea? Does that water count? Well, if I put water in my oatmeal, does that water count towards my, and I'm like, oh my God, we have overcomplicated this. Like, stuff it. Like, because people do, it's like oh man, talk about over.
It's like the step count. It's like the step count, like the 10,000 steps per day. Who the hell came up with that number? Like some Chinese scientists came up with it. All right, cool. But does that mean everybody has to have 10,000 steps? No. What about the person who's only could get, because of their job, only could get 4,000 steps a day? You want them to jump up another 6,000? No.
Right.
What you do is you just track your steps. What do you get? Okay, great. Let's shoot for more. The next week, let's try to get more. That's it. And just keep trying to get some more. You don't have to like overcomplicate it, but I totally get what you're saying.
Or feel like there's one number for everyone. And it's like, no, there isn't. Like these things can be tweaked for each individual person for what's right for them. That's why women show up in my DMs all the time and they're like, can you tell me your macros? Can you tell me like you said, like, oh, how much cardio do you do? How many minutes do you do? And I'm like, oh my God, it's not going to matter. Like I'm so at a different place than you're at a different place. Like what are you trying to just hit what I'm hitting? It's going to be just if you're doing nothing and I'm doing an hour, say, are you going to start doing an hour because I'm doing an hour? Or I bet you if you did 20 minutes, that would make a big difference on you because you're doing nothing. Correct?
Well, didn't you know that there's some research where if someone does exactly what you do, they alter their genetics and to look just like you? Didn't you know that?
And they get your exact results. And all my years of foundation work and doing meant nothing. I just had like now they can just know my secret sauce and just get the results in 30 days or less.
Yeah. That's the sell. That's the quick sell right there.
Right? Oh God. Yeah.
You're gonna get someone like watching this, and they're gonna like videotape this. They're gonna put it. Look at what Vinny said about how you could alter genetics if you just do exactly what the other person does.
Oh my God. Yes. I put nothing past the internet anymore. Trust me. Trust me. What's next on your list?
All right, I got two more. This one is a big one for me because I have clients who have dealt with it. And I have a lot of clients who don't deal with it, and I think it's a slap in the face. So having to avoid gluten, that to me is like the biggest slap in the face to the people with celiac disease, because what they have to do, what they have to go through, the quality of life that suffers when they have that.
Yeah.
Because gluten's in a lot of foods, right? And there's a lot of they can't even have it like near food that has gluten in it, just in case,
right?
Because it will be a terrible flare up and it can lead to cancers. But I feel like half of the world has decided that gluten's like an enemy. Yeah. And it's not, unless you have a specific condition like celiac, or if you have an intolerance to it, and then you have to avoid it. But those conditions only affect a tiny, tiny fraction of the population, right? For everyone else, like gluten, it's a protein that's found in wheat, barley, and rye. It's in bread, it's in pasta, it's in some soy sauces. It's not toxic. It's not inherently bad for humans. It's not inflammatory. It's not secretly plotting to like ruin your health. It's in fact, like the foods that contain gluten actually have a lot of fiber, have a lot of B vitamins, and they have like a lot of other nutrients that can actually help support overall health and even digestion. So when you look at like just cutting out gluten because people with celiac can't have it, it's a slap in the face, because those people would kill to have those types of foods. And to me, I just think it's a really big insult. But now here's the thing though, like if you cut out gluten from your diet and psychologically it makes you fucking feel better, great, awesome. Then keep doing it. Fine. But the way that I see it is like, it's not choosing gluten-free is not like a shortcut to better health.
No.
Yeah, I think if you don't have an intolerance or if you don't have celiac disease, then it's unnecessarily restricting nutrients.
It's like taking out a food group when it's not necessary.
Unless your doctor, not your chiropractor or not your functional health practitioner, unless your doctor says that you must avoid it, then don't buy into that hype.
Yeah, amen. Because I've had these functional people tell me to avoid it, and I'm like, you're out of your mind. Like, there's nothing wrong with my digestion, with my nothing. And yet on the flip side, I have sent devotion products to people I've seen on social media who one girl was in the hospital for celiac, and I sent her devotion, and like now she's been like obsessed and a customer forever, because I do feel for people like that looking for things that they can eat, and it's very difficult and they do suffer. So like, yeah, I you know, I've had people suggest that to me, these like functional people or whatever, and I'm like, why am I've never been diagnosed with anything. Like, why would I just cut out, like, as though you're telling me just to cut out fruit and cut out this, and now I'm cutting out. And then when people say, well, I lost a lot of weight cutting out gluten, it's like, yeah, you cut out a lot of the diet, like a lot of foods available.
You're limiting yourself. You're cutting out calories, whether you believe it or not.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, and that's a good one.
It's, like, there's so many times where like I've been in a situation that I had to bite my tongue because it's like we're out and we're being social and I don't have gluten. And I'm like, I always ask the question, well, why?
Yeah.
And well, because I feel better when I don't. So you weren't diagnosed with anything?
Nope.
No, I just know it's not for me. I know it's wrecking my gut. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna be quiet here before we get into an argument. So I'm gonna just
oh my God, this is like me. I have to pick and choose my battles, because also like we're social with all kinds of people. I have friends who they are so sure of their belief of things, and I cut out this and I won't eat that, and the intermittent fat and all the things, and it's just like I don't. Finally, I'm just like, a lot of times, like you said, I'll ask why, and if they are adamant and they're not, it's like, if I'm in a social event, I'm just, okay, I don't even need to battle it or go there or whatever, because there are some people that, like you said, psychologically are convinced that that was the magic behind their results. And okay, like it's
bless their heart.
But bless their heart. Yeah. And it only really annoys me if I'm the one hosting, and then I get like people to tell me that they have all of these, like, oh, I can't have gluten, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're celiac, like how much, whatever. No, it's just that we don't eat. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm gonna alter like the menu on your ridiculousness. Got it. Okay. So it's
I think it's another way for people to just like they're able to accept it within themselves. They're like, all right, well, I want to stay away from carbs, so let me just stay away from gluten.
Call it gluten,
and it kind of makes them like, oh, I don't eat gluten. Not I don't eat carbs. I don't eat gluten. I think it's just an easier way for them to accept it within themselves. It's psychologically, I think it probably plays a role.
Okay, I agree. We can agree on that. Yeah. I agree. Because I can't, I'm never given any real reason. So
it's the conversations where I just gotta walk away if you don't have a legitimate excuse for it. Because like I said, I've worked with people who have it and creating diets for them, and how much they have to like figure out like going out to eat and stuff. It's the quality of life suffers, especially if you're someone that like develops an intolerance a little bit later on. And when you develop an intolerance, you have an intolerance. It's not just like, oh, well, I might get a little bit bloated. No, you fucking know.
Yes.
So dealing with those and having that quality of life because you were experienced what it was like to have those foods and like to be around it and not worry about whether there's going to be, trace gluten anywhere, to actually having to deal with it. It's pretty significant loss of quality of life.
I agree 100%. All right. Last but not least, what do you got?
Last one. So I saved this for last because I have a lot to say about it.
Okay.
So I might go on a little bit of a rant, and I'm just hoping it's cohesive because there's a lot of stuff up here that wants to come out all at once.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to put some words to it.
Okay.
But we'll see how it goes. So this one is that seed oils are the root of all evil. Like if you scroll through social media, you definitely see that a lot of people are talking about seed oils and how that they're causing inflammation and that they're contributing to chronic disease. But these claims are blown way out of proportion. Like seed oils, like canola, sunflower, even soybean oil, they are rich in something called omega-6 fatty acids. Now, this omega-6 fatty acids gets a bad rap because they say that it leads down like the inflammation pathway, which it does, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the research tells us something completely different with omega-6. It shows us that omega-6 fats are actually a type of polyunsaturated fat that have been shown to lower LDL cholesterol, which is considered your bad cholesterol, and overall reduces your risk of heart disease. So having these omega-6 in your diet, having these seed oils in your diet can help you reduce your risk of one of the leading causes of deaths in the United States, which is heart disease. So why is there so much hate for this seed oil and these omega-6? It's not so much the seed oils themselves, it's the modern diet is the way that like I want to look at it. And like what we're eating in this Western world is way too much processed foods, way too many calorie dense foods. And they happen to contain seed oils. So you're putting the blame on one ingredient with these processed calorically dense foods, which is causing you to overeat. And we're also not getting enough of the omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in fatty fish, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, that type of stuff. And what happens is that you get so much omega-6 coming in, not so much omega-3. So the ratio is thrown off, which can contribute to some inflammation. But again, it's about the context. It's not about 6 versus 3. It's about the overall context of the diet. So blaming seed oils alone is literally like blaming a single raindrop for a flood that has happened, right? So when we look at omega, and this is where I said like I'm kind of all over the place here. When we're looking at like omega-6s, particularly linoleic acid, that's found in seed oils. They are the precursors to molecules called eicosanoids. Now, these eicosanoids derived from omega-6 can promote inflammation, which is why people hear omega-6 seed oils, omega-6 inflammation. They make that connection. It's way more complex than that, but that's the connection that's being made. But what we need to understand is that these eicosanoids, that they're actually normal for your immune system. We need it for healing. It's a good thing to have that for healing purposes. But when you have more omega-6, like an excessive intake of omega-6 and a lower intake of omega-3, that balance then leads towards that chronic low-grade inflammation, which over time can cause havoc, right? But what I really, really want to get across is that like omega-6s, these seed oils in particular, they play critical roles in our body, right? They're crucial during childhood. They're crucial during pregnancy. They support proper growth. They support proper development, especially brain development and cognitive function. Linoleic acid, which is the number one omega-6, which I just mentioned, that's a key component in cell membranes. So it helps to keep the integrity of the cell membrane, and it's also a good source of energy. So rather than avoiding omega-6s entirely, because number one, you're not going to, it's just in so many different things, and they're not that bad for you depending on the context of the diet. What you want to do is, instead of avoiding them entirely, try to focus on having more omega-3s come into your diet to help balance out that ratio. Because when omega-6s, when they are consumed as part of a balanced, nutrient-rich diet, it actually contributes to health rather than harm. And complex health problems like obesity and heart disease, it's not solved by just cutting out one ingredient. It's not solved by cutting out the omega-6s and the seed oils. It requires a big picture approach. And that's my issue with people with seed oils.
Love it.
Sorry.
No, that was beautiful. I wanted you to just go for it because, this is, like you said, one that's just swirling and won't die. And people are just hammering this into other people's head. And another fear of now the oils, and look for the oils. And it's like, oh my God. So I'm so glad that you gave a nice, substantial explanation and hopefully extinguish some of this like crazy fear with my listeners. Cause I really, I really feel that education is what will make people feel more liberated. Like it's like, okay, once they understand, the more of the science behind these issues and these things and the truths, they can now make the decision on their own rather than listening to believing these ridiculous posts, and so that knowledge is power, and that's why we do this. That's why I do the podcast. I want just to enlighten people and educate, and so your answer was like phenomenal. I mean, it was, or your explanation.
Like I could understand where like the people are coming from. Like, all right, so seed oils have omega-6s. Omega-6s lead to inflammation. Like I could see the linear progression there, but it's not like that. That's it's wrong. Right. It's not the way that it should be looked at. Like there's an omega-6 called DGLA. Don't ask me how to say it. I don't know. So I'm just abbreviate it DGLA. And it has anti-inflammatory properties, right? Which could actually counteract some of the negative effects of excess inflammation. But you don't hear about that, right? You just hear omega-6. That means automatically inflammation.
Right.
So I could see the connection, but it's the wrong connection. And that's where like, we need people like us to actually put out the right information.
Yeah.
So they can understand like, all right, well, it's not that fucking simple, because it's not. There's so many complex things going on within your body. If it was just a linear or a linear connection like that with everything, we'd know a lot more about how the human body works, and probably people wouldn't be having all these issues. Right. So complex, especially chronic disease and obesity. So complex. You can't just look at one ingredient and say, if I get rid of that, I'll fix all my health markers. No, it doesn't work that simply.
Yeah. I love what you said about blaming a raindrop for the whole flood. It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was great. Because really now when you think about it, you're like, yeah, that does sound ridiculous.
I give you permission to use that.
I'm going to
before I patent it.
Yeah. No, I'm going to that. No, that is a great way to describe some of the fear mongering, when somebody points out a little tiny ingredient or something and it's like, really, like that, or this is what causes this, and you're like, no it isn't. If that was the case, it was like, okay, people would just like get rid of that one ingredient and then all their diseases and all their stuff would be solved.
Be
then it's like, yeah,
it ain't that simple,
right? Yeah. And that'd be a win for everyone. Great, like you're healthy, amazing, that was so easy. But just not the case. But instead we just keep oh God. Well, these were great. I loved every single one. When you sent me the list, I was like, hell yeah, I can see, I would love to see all these go out the window, because they are
by the wayside. Let them stay in 2024, please.
Yes, please. This was great. Vinny, thank you so much for being on my podcast again. Guys, if you missed his first episode,
we always vibe. We vibe out.
We do. We've so much to talk about. We see eye to eye. Like, you're awesome. It's easy. It's easy. And guys, if you haven't heard Vinny's first podcast, I'll also put a little note so you can go back and visit his first one, because he'll give some more background on him, and we'll also talk about fitness and all the stuff. So Vinny's a wealth of knowledge. Follow Vinny on Instagram. I'll also put all of his information in the show notes. He always puts out great content. I fully approve of all of that. It's definitely Dana approved of all your stuff. I love it. And and then we'll do another follow-up to see how fatherhood's going for you. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not going to look as polished being on video.
That's okay.
In 3 months from now.
I know you might have like some throw up on you. Whatever. It's fine. I get it.
All
Been
good.
there. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vinny. And thank you guys for listening to another episode of Until It's Done, a Devoted podcast.